Warning, this video is not meant for children. It's only suitable for a mature audience as this video has mature themes like blood, violence, sex references, and inappropriate language. Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're actually going to be taking a look at my top 10 favourite movies of all time. Now you're probably wondering, Jay, you said that the next video will be Child's Play 3 review. Well, while that would be true, I hit 2,000 followers on Instagram, and usually how to celebrate that I would do it on Twitch because I use my Instagram to promote my Twitch. But now, since I now use Instagram to promote my YouTube, we might as well do a special on YouTube, so that's why we're here. Okay, so a few things before we get into the main bit of the video. I just want to say, please wait to the end of the video. I've got something very special I want to show you, but you're going to have to wait to the end. And this is sort of an early access, as this teaser will be releasing properly in a few days after the video is released. Firstly, before we get into the video, I just want to say that this is my opinion. You may not agree with that, and that is perfectly fine. This is objective my list. That's why you're on this channel and watching this video for my opinions. So don't get mad at me, okay? And another thing to mention is also that this is my top 10 favourite movies, not best. So I am completely biased on every single entry in the video because it's my favourite movies, the ones I enjoy the most and the ones I would rewatch on any occasion. Final thing I want to mention before we go into the video is that I'm going to be very brief with my explanations. I'm going to be covering 10 movies. I'm not going to make a 40-minute video. So every single movie in this video will get a review at some point in time where I'll go a lot more in depth. I can't go into depth right now. So with that all being said, let's get into the reviews. So coming in at number 10 is Jordan Peele's Us from 2019. Unlike Get Out, Us is a lot more of a straight horror film, which obviously, as a horror fan, I much prefer that. I love how gory and bloody it gets, and the tethers are actually very memorable with the whole red jumpsuit, the golden scissors, and the whole message that the movie carries is a lot more powerful than any other horror film has really done beforehand. So what is that message, you may ask? Well, with Get Out, it was a lot more of a racism plot about how normal families could have prejudiced ideologies. With this film, it's a lot bigger. It's all about how different classes of people get sectioned off from society just from being different. And I really like that. Not only is that a massive story and has so much potential, but also he does it brilliantly in a horror film. Most horror films are just hack and slash killers, which obviously I love that. But the way that he can make such a powerful message out of horror is honestly outstanding and honestly makes the movie stick out so much more in the whole grand scheme of horror. Coming in at number 9 is How to Train Your Dragon 3: The Hidden World that came out in 2019. How to Train Your Dragon for me is easily the best in the series simply because it wraps everything up in such a nice way. The ending for me is one of the best endings I've ever seen. It ends the series in such a fulfilling way. It's a bittersweet ending, and pair that with such a really smart and resourceful villain, you have yourself an overall brilliant experience. I just want to take a minute just to talk about the ending. The ending was absolutely fantastic. The way that through the last two movies, Hiccup has been completely determined to make it so dragons and humans can live in harmony. And then this movie was just like, that can't happen. The way that they just crush dreams like that and make it so the dragons and humans can't live in peace was something very ballsy. Something that I really wasn't expecting and ended up being so powerful because at the end of the day, I like those arcs. I obviously having a good arc like, oh yeah, you could do it. You could do everything you want to do if you believe in yourself. Yeah, that's great. But for me, I think it's so much more realistic when they actually get rid of that. They say that sometimes things simply aren't possible, and that's what really speaks to me in this ending. And overall, it just feels like such an amazing journey and finishes off the franchise in such a conclusive way, and I can't imagine them ending it in any other way. Coming in at number 8 for me is Halloween 2018. Now, this is the first instance where an entry is this high up, or at least on the list, due to complete bias. I absolutely adore Michael Myers as a character, and since the last few movies in the franchise have been, well, I'm just gonna say out front, terrible, it's nice to see one that goes back to form and have such a creepy Michael, such a great setting, and also bring back some fan-favourite characters. While I might not have a lot to say about this film, all I can say is that I enjoyed every single minute of it. It is perfectly creepy, well-paced, has some classic nods to the original film, such as replacing Michael with Laurie, which was a very interesting twist, but I really liked it. I liked all the characters, and also that ending with Michael burning, and then you look back into the thing and he's not there. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Perfect way of saying, hey, look, the film's over, but also the story's not over yet, is it? Coming in at number 7 for me is WreckIt Ralph from 2012. Right off the bat, I want to say I've got too much to say about this movie, but let me try and summarize as much as I can. I absolutely adore the video game setting. Going into all these retro games, it just feels so classical. It's literally almost 10 years old, yet it doesn't feel like it's aged by a day. Ralph is such a brilliant character. I love how selfish but also likable he is. He makes him so much more realistic compared to any other animated character. And the ending. Don't even get me started on the ending, along with Turbo just being such a brilliant twist villain. But you know what? The ending was so good and has one of my favourite scenes in all of cinema. So you know what? I'm just going to play it.
I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
I get goosebumps watching that scene every single time. It's just so perfectly paced, the way that Ralph finally accepted he's a bad guy after the entire film of trying to prove that he's something that he's not. It was so powerful and definitely something very memorable about the film. But anyway, let's go on to the next film. Coming in at number 6 is It 2017. Honestly, I can see an argument for saying that WreckIt Ralph is better than this film, and honestly, I kind of see these two as 2 and 2, but just because it is horror, I have to give it to them. But one thing, like I said, it's a horror. Is it scary? Yes, it is. This movie is downright terrifying. The visuals are something that I can't even imagine being any other film. This was the first movie when watching it. I was like, damn. This is scary. Bill Skarsgård portrays Pennywise in such a brilliant way. Definitely better than Tim Curry, 100%. The way that he feels so creepy, terrifying, but can also be kind of goofy as well. It's the perfect way of balancing Pennywise in this film. Another thing that really stuck out with me with this film, with It anyway, is that these characters are portrayed significantly more accurately to teenagers than they were with the original miniseries. They swear, they get each other's nerves, and that's completely realistic. Kids aren't just, oh my god, you're my best friend, I love you. It's a lot more realistic. They get each other's nerves, they're annoyed at each other, they swear, but also overall just have a good time, and those are the memories they love the most. It's so much more realistic and makes the movie feel a lot more scary as well, because you can actually imagine yourself in that situation. Coming in at number 5 is Detective Pikachu from 2019. Look, I can completely admit bias in this one. I absolutely adore this film. Look, as someone who's grown up with Pokemon and always wanted to see a live-action Pokemon film, it's actually so great to see a film that's actually pretty good to be live-action Pokemon, and to also not just be Ash going after a legendary Pokemon. It's nice to see something different, especially with Detective Pikachu, since I don't think much of the game when it came out. I love the Pokemon designs. I love the characters. I love Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu works really well for some reason. I love the effects, the Pokemon, again, they look so realistic. I absolutely love how they've done this film. Even if the story is a bit bland and can sometimes be a bit basic and a bit predictable, and at some points doesn't make as much sense as the rest of it, I absolutely adore it. It makes complete sense to me. As a Pokemon fan, I absolutely adore this film, like I keep saying. I am completely biased towards this film. Last thing I want to say about this film is I actually like how well paced it is. The story of the whole mystery thing is perfectly balanced. Like, I obviously knew from the beginning what the twist was because I've seen clips of the game. I knew exactly what the game was about. So I knew what it was from the beginning, but it never felt tedious. It always just felt like a good time. It always felt like the Pokemon and Tim were just having a good time while also trying to figure out some deep mysteries. I love the emotion that he put into it as well. It's quite surprising that they can do it really well. I love the scene where he meets Pikachu. I just love so many different bits of this film, and that's why it's this high up on the list. Coming in at number 4 for me is Sonic the Hedgehog from 2020. Yep, this is another one where I admit complete bias. I absolutely adore the Sonic games, and finally seeing it in live action and it, being a good film was just such a pleasure to me. The movie is just filled with just like childhood wonder. I love seeing Sonic running around, just experimenting in the world and just having a good time while also having some really good serious moments. I really enjoyed that part of his personality and really made the whole movie really enjoyable to watch. Not to mention Jim Carrey as Robotnik? God, that was perfect casting. He really goes into the role and really makes it his own, and I'm so excited to see him in the second film. And finally, the last thing I want to mention is the action. The action in this film, especially in the final scene, is just phenomenal. I love seeing him run through all the places, the speed, the high action, the explosions, just everything about it was just so enjoyable to me. While this movie may not be a cinematic masterpiece, I really enjoyed it. It was just such a great watch, and I can watch it whenever. So let's just go on to the next film. Coming in at number 3 is Avengers Endgame from 2019. I am just noticing how many movies on this list are from 2019. By the way, I'm going to have to be very brief with my explanation here because this is a 3-hour-long film. I cannot go into a bunch of detail or even just mention everything that I like about the film just because it's 3 hours long. I can't talk about everything, so I'm just going to go about the things that were noteworthy off the top of my head. The main thing I want to mention about this film is just the final fight scene. My god, was this scene brilliant. It had so much build-up, the last 20 movies, the last 10 years, and it all led to this, and my god, was it satisfying. Seeing every single Avenger in every single film come together and finally fight was just such an experience, and I absolutely love it. I still get goosebumps to this day. That scene where Captain America is just using Mjolnir like it's nothing was just such amazing structure since everyone was struggling to pick it up in Age of Ultron, and seeing him finally use it. Like, when I was in the theater and watching this, my whole cinema was screaming, and I completely understand. It was such a great moment and one of my favorite parts of going to a cinema. Last thing I want to mention before we go on to the next film is the way that they home in on individuals and what it feels like for the blip. We have different scenarios such as moving on, still can't get over it, trying to say that you're perfectly fine with it even though you're still struggling on the inside. I really like how they targeted different sides of what the blip has done to people. And I like how they home in on all the original Avengers since we've been focusing on all of them over the entire time. And I love how they just really home in on the personal character arcs, and that's what really made the movie feel even more special, and also made the final scene even more special since we spent the whole time learning about these individual people, and then we see everyone together at the end. It was such a great film, and 100% worth the wait of 20 films. Coming in at number 2 is Child's Play 2 from 1990. Now, this is going to be the most brief I'm going to be in this entire video, simply because I already have a review going over everything with Child's Play 2, so I don't want to keep on repeating myself, so I'm basically just going to go over the general things that I like. Firstly, Chucky is my favourite character. I adore Chucky, I adore the Child's Play franchise, it is my favourite franchise, so of course my favourite movie in the franchise is going to be in this video. And I think it deserves number 2. I adore the settings, I adore the kills, I adore the Chucky one-liners, Andy, just everything about this film I just adore, and that's why it's this high up. If you do want to see everything and all my opinions on the film, go watch the review. There'll be a link in the description down below. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse from 2018. If you know me, you know that this is no surprise. Personally, I think Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse is the closest that a film can be to perfect. Just like with the last 2 films, I'm going to have to be very brief. There are so many aspects I absolutely adore about this film. I simply can't talk about everything. So I'm going to try and say as much as I can within a short period of time. So yeah, let's just get into my opinions about it. To start with, the animation is absolutely fantastic. The way that they took over 2 years developing the art style alone just shows how much effort they put into this film. The art style was so different, so unique, but looks so amazing. Just look at this scene. It looks so beautiful. I don't know how they made it look so amazing. Another thing I absolutely adored about the film was the soundtrack. The soundtrack was one of the most best soundtracks. In fact, I would argue one of the best soundtracks I have ever heard in a film. Every single one from the soundtrack suits their scenes perfectly. I cannot get over how amazing they made this film. Miles is one of the most relatable characters in any film I've ever watched. I love every part of his personality. The way that he wants to live up to everyone else, but also feels like his doubts are overhead and he just can't handle it. I love every single part of it. I love the pacing. I love the animation. I love the other Spider-Men. They all feel so unique to one another, which is another thing that movies tend to have a struggle with. Their side characters blend in with one another. These guys all feel so unique, blending different art styles. The final scene is so visually pleasing, bringing in all these other Spider-Man characters. This film is something special. There you go. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the best film I have ever seen. I love every single moment of it. When it came out in cinemas, I watched it twice within like a few days of each other. I adored this film. I even love the dad. I love the mum. I love the twist, even though I knew it was always going to be his uncle. I love the twisted parts of the story. I love everything about this film. That's all I can say. And that's all I'm going to stick with for now, so this video doesn't end up being 20 minutes long. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time I upload. Comment in the comment section down below, what is your top 10 favourite films? Do you agree with some of my installments? I know you probably don't. And also, do you remember at the beginning of the video I said that was a teaser I need to show you? Well, take a look at it.